What's up, guys? Blake Rodriguez with Dream Come True Canine. Today we're going to go ahead and kind of get hands-on with the prong collar. I've done tons of videos on this before. For those of you guys that know me, we use these tools, but we understand like the pros and cons. We do a lot of vlogs on all this kind of stuff and videos on our social media platforms, YouTube, Catch.me, Periscope, Facebook, all that good stuff. But I've gotten a couple of PMs in the last day or two on Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, and we've gotten comments on YouTube and stuff. People asking about this prong collar. Apparently there was a trainer or two that put out a video. I believe it was a female trainer, I'm not sure her name, or where she's from. I don't have the details on that, but we're talking about how painful these collars are. And if you're familiar with us and the work we do, that's obviously, we've already shown you that's not the case, but I wanted to kind of take it one step further.
I weigh 176 pounds. That's more than the average pet dog.
I'm going to show you that I can actually lean on here like this and really lean forward, right? And stuff like that. So, a couple things real quick. I'm going to do something that's a little bit weird. Would you come over here for a second? A flat buckle collar has the potential to be almost like a rear naked choke. Are you comfortable with me kind of doing something for a second? If you're, just go ahead and tap when it comes. So a rear naked choke, basically the setup is if I come under here and I come here and I do this, when I start to squeeze, this can be pretty tight. Same thing with like harnesses with dogs that are pulling. It's not necessarily safe or anything like that. In fact, we've seen irreparable damage. Dogs that have come in that are pulling messes on harnesses that actually get almost concave shoulders when they walk, because a lot of those easy walk harnesses really do a lot of like damage over here on the inside of like the shoulders and stuff. And sure, we use slip leads and walk dogs on like other stuff when they're next to us. If you have a dog that walks fine, I could care less what you walk your dog on, but you have a dog that's a massive puller. Having that massive puller on a harness that was designed to pull or to allow pulling, or a harness that's an easy walk that can really do damage here, is something that we wouldn't recommend. We would kind of get them on this and then kind of go from there. So obviously I've spoken about this before on a live Periscope, but I just wanted to kind of do this video because I think it's pretty important.
The Halti as well.
Oh, and then the Halti is actually like a
we
pretty,
use that,
yeah, we use Haltis, which I'm a fan of, which is very different from a gentle leader. So I'm not sure if I've done a Periscope on that, but I'll probably, yeah, I'll probably do that. The gentle leader is no bueno, no good. The Haltis are good also, but even though they're not putting stuff on your neck, what you're doing is you have to be careful because you can't really correct, because now when you're pulling or a dog is pulling, you can do damage to neck muscles.
It's similar to that rear naked choke.
I do this, when I start to squeeze, this can be pretty tight, and a lot of that is, you're right, a lot of that is because
a flat buckle collar on here or anything like that can really do a good amount of damage to the trachea and the larynx, right? So instead of having that flat crushing pressure, having a bunch of contact points distributes the weight evenly around the neck so that you can apply pressure and it's not going here, it's going evenly. Another thing you have to consider is how strong dogs' necks are. The way they play bite, the way they roughhouse, the way they hang from each other's necks and jowls, the way the mother picks a puppy up from the neck, you know, all that stuff. The way older dogs really roughhouse and pull on each other's necks. Our skin is too fair for that, you know, and I still was able to kind of tolerate that in a way where I said, I got uncomfortable, but it wasn't painful.
And since we're on the topic of aversive tools in general, I think it's really important that we understand what the medical definition of an aversive is. And that's tending to avoid or causing avoidance of a noxious or punishing stimulus. From an operant conditioning term, we have to understand what punishing actually means. And the key word here is anything. Anything that you do that will reduce the likelihood or decrease the likelihood of a behavior repeating or occurring again. So anything is very important. That could be you verbally saying no. That could be you removing something, like simply you're using positive reinforcement and then you decide to actually withhold food because a dog jumped and
you want it to actually stop feeding because that's not it. That's actually technically negative punishment, the removal of something to decrease the likelihood. So when we're getting scientific, regardless of what you put a leash on, if that's attached to the dog, whether it's a harness, whether it's a martingale, whether it's a prong collar, whether it's a halty, a gentle leader, by definition, it's an aversive. Why do we use prong collars? Yeah, with something like this, because there's so many contact points, it's almost like laying on a bed of nails. So a couple things really quickly. Could you go ahead and you can get Justice back on me and give me a couple corrections? You can really give it a couple goes. I guess you can qualify it as uncomfortable. You can just go to town if you want. I'm going to show you that I can actually lean on here like this and really, really, really lean forward, right? The reason why we have these contact points, and one, they're not sharp, they're not stabbing or anything like that, is they actually distribute the weight evenly around the neck. So very similar to if you're going horseback riding, using the reins when you probably could ride a horse bareback, it allows for smoother communication, right? Softer communication. It's also one of the few tools on the market that has the ability to be so soft, but also be firm if needed. Because let's be honest here, let's face it, it can be used as a correction in a firm way that's gonna get a dog's attention or has a better shot at getting a dog's attention more than the average flat buckle collar or harness or something like that. So having a wide range of communication like that is rare in tools, and I personally think it's very, very valuable. Now, while 95% of the time we're using these tools so that we can actually be softer and really create relevance and really understand that if pressure is going to have to stay on, you can make sure it can stay on without being nervous that your dog is choking from flat pressure or being cut off and really doing some damage to like that the shoulder areas with a harness or something like that. You know you can be soft, but there are some situations where I am 100% okay with really giving a dog a correction if it's a dangerous situation and I need to put a stop to that, right? Just like the Periscope episode that we recently did, you can find it archived on catch.me, nature corrects. So before nature's harsher version of a correction comes along, I'd rather it be me to teach you that lesson so that you don't do that again, because that's how we learn in life, right? Rewards and consequences, right? Or good consequences and bad consequences. So it's very, very important. You know, we spend so much time talking about getting the dog to prefer to make these choices and want to do that. And that's definitely the goal in the beginning. You want the dog to be enthusiastic about making choices, but what's not spoken about enough is when the dog knows and prefers to make that choice most of the time, but the couple of times where the dog says, listen, I know how to make that choice and I know what the reward is that you're going to give me, but right now I'd rather do this. And in some situations, regardless of whether that other thing is bad or not, that's a time to practice. No, when I say something, you do it, because down the road, you might not have the time to practice saying, hey, in this situation, you have to listen to me. So it's very important that you have a means of following through. And if a dog understands a language, and we do all these soft videos, you can find this on Facebook, you can find this on YouTube, you can find this on Instagram, on Periscope, catch.me, all these examples that show you how soft you really can be with this tool and how you can create foundation and understanding and create the language. That once that language is known, if I need to raise my voice in a language, it's merited. You understood what I said when I said, I really need you to come here. Listen, I really need you to stop talking. I'm going to be late for work. I'm going to get fired. Listen, I really need you to stop talking. I need you to drive me. We're going to be late. I'm going to get fired. I said I don't want to get fired, Jen. We need to go. And if I raise my voice there, that in that situation is merited, right? So there are some times where unfortunately people are jumping into using these tools and the dog doesn't know the language and they're speaking loudly in the language and they're raising their voice and they're cranking, yanking, and jerking and their leash isn't matching what their body's saying, matching what their energy's saying, they're frustrated. That's not something I would condone. But at the same time, if you spent time teaching this language and the dog understands what you're asking, and the dog is really, really good, and in this situation now you need to raise your voice, it's no different than how we interact with human beings and our children. There's a time and place for everything, right? And if you're good and your handling skills are good, you're not allowing dogs to get desensitized to walking on pressure forever, and the concept of like pain going away or something like that by it staying on. That's not really how it works. But any pressure can become white noise. So the goal is you're teaching a dog to walk on nothing, but in those early stages sometimes you need to apply pressure, and you want to know that you're not going to be choking a dog when you're doing that. And that's why we really like the prong collar, similar to situations where like I said, the horse reins, it makes riding a horse back and showing a horse what you want to do a little bit easier, right? Using four-wheel drive in a vehicle in the snow when you probably could get by with two-wheel drive, it makes things a little bit easier to get where you need to go. These are things we have to consider, because I mean, I've said this before, you can give me a potato and I'm gonna be able to train your dog, but we also have to consider our clients. And the fact that they have 9-to-5 jobs and they're not professional dog trainers. They might not have the time. They want to put in the work, but at the same time they don't have all the hours. So you got to find a little bit of a shortcut for them, even though using these tools is not as much of a shortcut as you think. There's a finesse to it. So a lot of people that are hard workers with training dogs, and they have really horrible handling skills. So this is something that's very important. The prong collar is not stabbing or hurting or like abusing dogs. It has the potential to possibly, just like any other tool out there on the market. Now, of course, the next thing that's probably gonna pop up for some people is like that one silly photo that's floating around where it looks like the dog has like stab marks inside. I believe that video is probably fake. In the event that, or if it was caused, it probably wasn't caused by a prong collar. In the event that it was, there's no way, as you can see there as I'm hanging, I could probably string a dog up, like throw a long line over a tree and hang a dog, and a dog would panic and stuff, and I would consider that abuse. But I still don't think that it would puncture a dog, especially Herm Springer collars. Like these are not Petco, PetSmart prong collars that are poorly made, that are sharp and you can't get in and out. These are very well designed round edges that have a clasp in the middle, so everything can be evenly distributed and really contract together, right? So having said that, there's really, the only way I can see that happening is 100% neglect. And by neglect, I mean it was probably properly fitted before. The dog started getting bigger. The dog must have been left on outside in a backyard or something, where the dog started growing, and eventually, what's the word I'm looking for? Embedding. So it just got embedded. You see that in harnesses. You see that with flat buckle collars. You see that with martingales. You see that with halties. Anything can get embedded over time if it's tight and the skin or the body underneath it is growing around that. It either has to go around or go through. So if that's the case, that's what that video did, or what that picture shows. It's not necessarily a reflection of the prong collar being bad. It's the neglect and the embedding that could have happened with any tool. So an emotional, like a rational person is going to blame it on the tool, but somebody that sees what the cause was, that's neglect that could have happened with anything, if that photo is even real, right? So that's the point of this video. Don't believe the hype. I mean, if you see the dogs that we're helping, people are paying big money to come to us, and we're turning dogs around on a daily basis. These are the same dogs that have been to all these other trainers. These are the same dogs that the vet said should put down. You can't help it. These are the same dogs that were on all this medication because they went to that one trainer that tried one method, didn't believe in the other ones, pass it on to a veterinary behaviorist, which basically is somebody that believes in those same methods, that says, since we can't do anything else, we're going to go ahead and we're going to medicate the dog. And now your dog's on heavy medication and is either drugged up, and that's the reason why it's working, or it's not working at all. So that's not something that we believe in. And of course, it upsets some people when you see, listen, we don't believe in that. We're using these tools. One, our clients are ecstatic. They're super, super happy. They're coming back. They're getting results. They're lasting results. And two, it goes against what you were told in your school and in your class, and this doesn't work, and you can't do this, and this is abuse. And you see these dogs are happy, you see these dogs are not being abused, you see the owners who love their dogs are happy, they're not abusing their dogs. And it gets some people upset sometimes because they've been told, or they've been taught this lie, basically. So we're just here not to kind of criticize or ridicule other people and what they're doing, because we just don't have the time for that. But I'm here to make videos about what I'm doing and showing results. And at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. And that's my plan. We're putting these videos out, and that's how we're educating. I really have no interest in arguing with people that don't have the experience, because I'm here to try to learn from everybody. And hopefully people are also there trying to learn from me as well. So that's what we're doing. Thanks for watching.